circuits they roam. In a world where the data is the unsung hero. Welcome to the stage, the Eat Sleep Code Show. Syntax tight, our semicolons in a row. With the AI beats and the database flow. Grab your gear, hit compile and let's go. We're breaking walls in our virtual chateau. With every line we write, our universe will grow. Welcome to the grid where the brave dare to code. Eat, sleep, code, let the systems overload. Sending signals in the neon afterglow.
Hello and welcome to Eat Sleep Code, the official Telerik podcast. I'm your host, Ed Charbonneau, and with me is my co-host, John Bristow. How are you doing, John?
Great. Really busy week, but we're at the end now. We had so much going on over here at Octopus Deploy. We were recently at KubeCon in London. We had a bunch of product announcements. I've done a ton of webinars. But it's all going to come to an end, thankfully, at the end of this week. I've been so busy. Good. To answer your question.
It's been a busy time for me as well. I just got back from the Microsoft MVP Summit. That went extremely well. Got to see a lot of friends, familiar faces.
Yep.
A lot of great people from the .NET community. And it has been very productive ever since. So I've been nose deep in work and spring break and all of those things. So
did you do that on campus in Redmond?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're
how is Redmond these days?
They've gone through some remodeling up there. It has changed quite a bit in the past 2 to 3 years. I'd say ever since COVID, actually. I think they kind of decided that was a good time to refactor the campus. And
every time I would go
buildings.
there, I was at Microsoft for about 6 years, and every time I go to Redmond, I'm like, this place is always under construction. It's insane. I mean, it makes sense. It's always raining there, but the buildings were also quite dated. Every time I go there, I was like, oh yeah, really? They got up. It's like circa 1980 type buildings, sort of thing. So, are you saying they're like nice and glass and shiny and new, that sort of thing?
Well, no, I wouldn't say they're glass, but they're shiny and new. Okay. I don't think you'd recognize it anymore, to be honest. It's changed that much. It's really changed quite a bit. If you're a fan of Microsoft lore, you may know that the original Xbox was actually shaped like two of the buildings that were on campus. Did you know this?
I did not, but I know that it was. I know about the story of the design around the 360, but I didn't know this about the original Xbox. I've seen a number of talks by Seamus Blackley, one of the original creators of the Xbox. I did not realize they actually. Oh, that's not true. The X. That's right. Yeah. I remember it now. Sorry, the Neuron just fired. Yes, I do remember that story. Yes.
Yeah. So those buildings are gone now. So they do not exist anymore. The Xbox buildings. I think those were like some of the original, or were the original buildings, if I remember correctly. That was like, after the garage, and then into like the first set of office spaces that they built. I think that was like the first buildings they broke ground on. So those are gone. And the campus has changed quite a bit. But
there you go.
Yeah, it's really nice, and weather was good enough.
Really?
It's a little bit of storms in there.
A bit of a rare one for Seattle, but that's all right.
Yeah, I've been lucky most of the time I've been there. This was probably the rainiest I've actually seen it, and it was still
really
decent. But yeah.
There's, if you live in that part of the world, basically there's a day, it's sometime in October where you turn on your windshield wipers, and then there's a day in sometime in April when you turn them off.
So I've heard. I think it's all just to get people to not come out there and enjoy it. Keep it all to yourselves.
Right.
I'm just greedy. I love Seattle every time I'm there, so I don't know. I don't experience the same thing as living there, though. Nice place to visit, at least. It's like I lived in Florida. It was a great place to visit and a horrible place to live. That's still my opinion.
All right.
Sorry, Florida people.
You heard it here. You heard it here first.
I took the first ticket out of there and never went back.
All right.
All right. Speaking of MVPs, Microsoft MVPs, a lot of Microsoft MVPs have courses up on Dome Train, including myself. Yep. And it is Nick's birthday. Nick Chappis is the creator of Dome Train, and he's celebrating with a birthday discount code. So make sure you jump on the Dome Train and get your birthday discount, 40% off anything with the birthday to checkout code. So
happy birthday, Nick.
Yeah, happy birthday, Nick. And if you want to support MVPs and know some of the folks that are on Dome Train, go check out their courses. It's a great place to get new learning materials and content for some new skills. Speaking of Microsoft stuff, MVPs, all of that, we have a lot of Microsoft news today.
Yeah, we do.
.NET, we're pretty .NET loaded. So if you're a Microsoft fan, stick around. If you come to the show for non-Microsoft things, this might not be your show for today, but I just want to give you a heads up. We do have a lot of Microsoft things on the menu. First off, introducing Visual Studio Hub. John, you shared this. I'll let you lead. I heard of it, but I haven't really checked it out yet.
Yeah, so Microsoft announced this Visual Studio Hub. You can check this out now. It's a centralized platform, basically designed to streamline access to the latest updates, features, resources, anything to do with the Visual Studio ecosystem. You'll find it there. And this is essentially an initiative to try and simplify the process of staying informed of all that information that surrounds Visual Studio. As you are well aware, keeping up to date on all the things Visual Studio can be a challenge. So this is something that they've introduced. Some highlights that you might see on the website, things like what's new. So you can stay updated on the latest features. There's a section that highlights that. Any GitHub Copilot resources are available there for things like tutorials, guided experiences with GitHub Copilot within Visual Studio. There's also resources for learning, community connections, feedback channels, all that sort of stuff. The blogs that are associated with Visual Studio, some of the ones that we cite as well. And then, of course, the community. The community is really the big one. So anything around social, anything around engaging with the engineering teams, encouraging conversations, etc. That's all listed there. So the Visual Studio Hub is designed basically to be a go-to resource for developers who are using Visual Studio. And I think the plan here is basically to provide additional updates. So providing this one-stop shop for all things Visual Studio, I think, is a good thing.
Yeah. This is something I've been just exploring while you've been chatting there. I forgot to share it on the right screen, though. There's a section in here with a lot of videos. So one thing that Microsoft's done very well for the last couple of years now, I guess they've always done this really well with Channel 9. They had all the Channel 9 content, and then they started moving that all over to Microsoft Learn. So I guess that's where I was kind of placing my train of thought. Was Microsoft Learn is new. Something they've been doing really well recently is adding more content to that. But again, they have a long history of doing this. But Microsoft Learn and all of their YouTube and other syndications are easy to find here as well. And they have some really great shows that they put on, whether it's .NET stand-ups, community shows.
Azure Friday, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It is nonstop developer content coming out of them. Yes. So if you enjoy shows like this one, you'll find other ones on their channel.
Maybe not like this one. It's two ignorant guys in a bar talking about tech. Come on.
We're a little bit maybe lower brow than some of the stuff you'll find on their official channel, right. But that's what happens when they give me a microphone. Anyway,
nice.
Speaking of Microsoft Visual Studio and other Microsofty things, they happen to own GitHub, and the GitHub issues and projects is an evolving space and always getting new features and things. So I guess this is something they have some new general availability items for. They've been kind of revamping this area.
Yeah. So for those who aren't aware, there's features inside of GitHub that maybe you've never touched before or used, things like projects, etc. There's a bunch of new innovations that they've added. By the way, all of this stuff we find up on the engineering blog. You can find us at github.blog. So there's new issue types that you can use. So we have standardized classifications now for issues. So issues are typically, you have to come up with your own taxonomy for these things, but now you can label them new feature request as a feature type. And what this does is it basically promotes consistency across repositories, because everyone and their grandmother comes up with any type of classification. So by standardizing this across the board, provides a little bit of clarity there. Sub issues are also another thing that we've added, or we GitHub have added. Sorry, been a lot of webinars. Have added. This basically allows you to break down your larger tasks into smaller, more manageable sub issues, and so you get this nice hierarchy of tasks, and allows you to track projects pretty easily this way. And so around project planning, which is project planning in GitHub is actually pretty good. It's a free service that you can turn on with your repo. And being able to track these things within your repository is actually a really good thing. I would encourage everyone who hosts a project or has a repo up on GitHub to explore the capabilities there. The nice thing about also projects is you can wire them up with GitHub Actions. So every event that fires off of a project, you can wire up with a GitHub action, write a corresponding YAML workflow, and do actions based off of that. So there's lots of power and flexibility there.
Yeah, the project management tools are something I've heard a lot of great things about, but haven't got to really utilize myself. Yeah, it looks like we have some new advanced search features, nice syntax highlighting up in the toolbar, and some like auto completion help and that sort of thing. Yep. This is something that I do use a lot. Especially if it's a GitHub repo that is not something that I'm directly involved with. I'm trying to maybe submit a bug or research, the latest issues, find something that may have been closed, but I'm having a similar issue with. Like, I do this all the time. One thing that I personally hate doing to people is submitting a bug report that somebody else has either already submitted or already resolved. Yeah. So I use search features quite a bit, so I don't stick my foot in my mouth and repost something that's already been taken care of. Yeah Fair. Expanding project limits. It looks like GitHub project is now much bigger. It was 1,200 issues per project. Now it's 50,000. Holy moly. That's a lot of issues. If you have that's your serious projects. Issues, if you have 50,000 issues open in your project, there might be a time to improve your code. It's time to stop vibe coding. That's There you go.
I tried to pitch this idea of vibe deployments or vibe deploying. It didn't land.
No.
So there you go. No.
Yeah, maybe if you have 50,000 issues, it's time to rewrite. It looks like they rewrote, I'm not saying that's why they did it, but they did rewrite the NuGet restore in .NET 9.
God, I love your segues. They're so good.
Thank you. I don't use AI to do them.
Yeah. Speaking of blah, 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 rewrite, how many issues do these guys have? There you go.
This is another one of those engineering type posts that you like, John.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of these because they basically provide the behind the scenes story of what engineering teams are doing. So for the longest time, there have been a lot of challenges around NuGet. So things like, restore times, etc. There was an internal startup basically within Microsoft to try and it was basically a 6-month project to rewrite the .NET. Sorry, my mouth is not working today. I apologize. Words. The NuGet restore algorithm, basically. So basically, this blog post goes through all the things that have gone into this. So the restore algorithm has been pretty much unchanged for like over 10 years, and it wasn't scaling effectively for the increased complexity that we find in modern .NET projects. So projects today are you got microservices, you've got all kinds of different things that are coming to bear, and so this posed a challenge for the NuGet restore algorithm. And so what they've done is they've restructured the core algorithm. They've addressed a bunch of performance bottlenecks. they've basically achieved, and again, this is where you see those you and I always balk at performance metrics, but they achieved a 16-fold improvement in restore times, which is awesome. And so restoring them from approximately, I think it was like, I thought I saw in the reports like 32 minutes to 2 minutes, which is insane. So the enhancements they've added also facilitate the migration of services to what they call the modern .NET Core architecture. And so basically this project, and these engineering blogs are great because they tell the story. It's the behind the music sort of story. So the project exemplifies the effectiveness of cross-team collaboration within the .NET teams at Microsoft. And I'm a big fan of this. If you see something that's a problem, you want to improve it, especially as technology evolves. These are a feel-good story in my book.
Yeah, these are the type of things that help you level up. It looks like there was a lot of work in like transitive packages and hierarchies.
Yep.
And that's one thing that, other package management solutions have had issues with as well. Won't even go through the process of naming them, but there's some that
I will.
There are some that generated a significant number of memes over the years. We'll just say that.
NPM, cough, cough.
Yeah. Okay. Just spell it out for everybody. I was beating around the bush, but I've burned enough bridges with that one. I figure I'd let him off the hook once. Yeah. Boy, this just keeps going. But yeah, like NuGet has something that I always thought was good already. And to see it get even better is nice. I'm not just trying to like beat the .NET drum because that's what I use, but I've tried other solutions out there for, other programming languages because every ecosystem seems to have their own package manager. And NuGet seems to be one of the faster, more reliable ones already. And nice to see it getting a rewrite and getting some more performance boost.
To be clear, this is all about NuGet restore. So basically when you open or you build a .NET project, it may, as you rightly point out, it may rely on external libraries, Newtonsoft, .json, Serilog, etc. Those NuGet packages, they have to be obviously fetched. And so NuGet restore goes and fetches those packages from the NuGet gallery or any specified source you have defined, whether you have private NuGet sources. And so this is the improvement of that restore. And that's an algorithm that hasn't been touched in 10 years. So there you go.
Yeah. We're going to shift gears a little bit towards more DevOpsy stuff. .NET Aspire 9.2 is now available and has new ways to deploy. So I don't know if you've been following the .NET Aspire news, but .NET Aspire is a microservice orchestrator pattern that was developed by Microsoft.
Yep.
And it was something that, I'm not a DevOps guy. Like, I don't DevOps things. I build stuff and spend a lot of time in the front end, maybe build some web stuff. But then I started working with some generative AI and found that, you need to use Docker and host things, and finding a .NET Aspire coming in really handy for that.
Good.
So I am now an Aspire believer. I'm like, okay, this actually has some really valid uses for me, even spinning up containers with AI inference models and encoding models and all of that locally, so you can beat the heck out of them before you go deploy it and use up all your tokens in the cloud. So it looks like there are some new deployment bits inside of .NET Aspire 9.2.
Yeah, so basically this is an update of some of the features of .NET Aspire. .NET Aspire is centralized around the dashboard. So this is the thing that most people think of when they think of .NET Aspire. It's the dashboard that's provided out of the box. So there's things like the resource graph, where you can visualize all your resources within the app, host and their interconnections. So there's been enhancements made there. There's other features as well, like custom resource URLs, so you can allow developers to add specific URLs to resource definitions in the app host project. that allows you to basically do better management of your development environments. There's deep linking of resources as well. So the direct connections between applications and services, like if you're using Azure Service Bus or Event Hubs or Cosmos DB, it basically allows you to streamline your integration processes. There's a bunch of custom HTTP commands that have been added as well. There's publisher integrations that have been added, and a bunch of breaking changes. So this blog post talks about all of that in 9.2.
Awesome. All right, John. I am a big fan of cheat sheets.
Okay.
I stumbled across this one today. This is
Nice.
a C# to TypeScript cheat sheet. Again, I'm a big fan of these things because I like to cross over into different programming languages, and who doesn't touch a multitude of things these days between
You got peanut butter in my chocolate.
CSS, TypeScript, C#, JavaScript, you name it. You're probably making use of it, but these things help you kind of build context between different styles of programming, different languages and things like that. And this is basically that type of cheat sheet. So it gives you kind of a breakdown of like the common types and elements that go into C# and TypeScript, and gives you comparison as to what those convert to in each, how to define variables and constants, arrays and collections, so on and so forth. It even goes into some bigger things like how does inheritance work, properties, getters, setters, method calling and functions, null handling, loops, conditions, async await and promises. Like if you need to write something in TypeScript and you're a C# developer or vice versa, this is a really excellent resource for getting started with that. And I found that one up on Dev2. It is This Is Learning is the name of the publication.
This is learning. Come on.
And you could find that one under C# TypeScript cheat sheet. So I love stuff like this. If you have something similar, find me on the Twitters, or I'm still going to call it Twitter. Find me on that platform. Send me this stuff. I love it.
The language to language comparisons are good. I like the comparisons that make it to something really esoteric, like C# to bridge building cheat sheet. If you could represent each one.
I wonder, John, like I always love the cheat sheets, but I wonder if they are going to go out of fashion for the fact that you can just go to AI and say, convert this for me, or what does this mean in this language? Of course. But I used to have one of those corkboard office walls, like the typical stereotypical cubicle for a software developer, and I had these things like pinned up everywhere. And whenever I would need to do whatever, like functional programming was one of my favorite ones, I'd just like yank it off the board and flip through it real quick to figure out what it was I was trying to do. And I had those things like everywhere.
I liken it. It's hard because you get into a groove with one of the two languages. I liken it to Severance, right? Where you're like out in my outie is a C# developer, my innie is a TypeScript developer. So I enter when I switch the language provider and I move from one project to the next, it's like going in that elevator. I'm like, whoa, where am I? Sort of thing. So hopefully the cheat sheet will help.
Yeah, these are some of the types of things I think will get replaced by MCP.
Yes.
Because you can create an MPC server for, say, a language service and just ask it to translate things for you now. And if you're building MCP, Model Context Protocol, you can do it in C#. And if you haven't heard of Model Context Protocol, you've either been not paying any attention to AI and staying off social media, or you're not vibe coding, because this was like all the rage in the news cycles, like probably about 3 weeks ago, and it hasn't stopped since. But the TLDR version of what an MCP server is kind of similar to remember back in the day we had SOAP, John? And it was like What's the modern version of that? Swagger?
Simple object access protocol. That's right.
Yeah, just like typical web anything.
We had WSDL described it. Yes.
Yeah, WSDL. We had WSDL. We threw that away, and then we opted for JSON responses, and Swagger came about, and that was the new hottest thing, and we kind of tossed that for some other new stuff. This is kind of akin to that in a way that we are describing services that are available to generative AI, large language model chatbots. And you can expose function calling inside of a system, whether those are web endpoints behind the scenes or other things. These are tool calling systems that are available for large language models, and you can expose those at large. Like you can say, like, here's all of my functions that you can run large language model, and now you have access to all of these things. It's perfect for something like one of our products like Sitefinity or something where you have a content management system and you're like, all right, now I'm going to expose an MPC server for all the things a content management system can do, but now a large language model can access that data. And that can be a really powerful thing, right? So want to do that, there is a library that Microsoft is pushing forward with, and it is currently an SDK that is in preview. So if you want to get started building an MCP server, I'm going to say MPC like every time because of an old client of mine that was a, what is that called? Program management something or other. There was like a certification that was an MPC something certificate. Anyhow, MCP server, getting started. You fire it up in the console to file new project in Visual Studio, and then you can add your server, define your tools, and this is where the real value gets added to those descriptions. You mentioned WSDL, John. This is kind of similar in some ways, where the description that you give the tool, and you can add descriptions to the arguments as well, but the descriptions that you add to the tool and the arguments are actually natural language descriptions that the large language model is consuming to understand the context of that tool. So the large language model, think of it as you're describing this to someone else. Like I'm telling you, John, I have a tool you can run that, quote, echoes the message back to the client. So when you ask a large language model, repeat this back to me, it'll go, oh, I have a function I can run to repeat what you just said back to you, and it would run that function. So this is where like natural language is really going to make a difference in how we build software. And again, these are things that you can kind of broadcast out and allow large language models to consume as a whole. So anything that is exposed through these descriptions are now abilities that your large language model can take advantage of. So powerful tool. It's got some visualization stuff built into it. And I won't go through all the bits and pieces, but there's a lot of abilities built into the SDK to help you build these things out and host them.
Very good.
So that stuff is pretty on point. And if you want to learn more about what all this AI stuff means, and like if the last 2 minutes of me yammering on meant absolutely nothing to you, and you want to know what an LLM is and what generative AI does and how it does it and why context matters, Microsoft has an AI Skill Fest that is currently ongoing, but it's only been going for 3 or 4 days now. I think it started maybe Monday or Tuesday this week, and it's not too late. It's going to be going on for the rest of the next month here. And if you join, there's a dashboard where you can go back and rewatch any of the YouTube sessions that were broadcast, reread any materials that were published, and so on, catch up. And then April 8th was the official kickoff of the Guinness World's Record for the most people learning about AI at one time.
Okay.
So
All right.
there's a tie in there.
Someone in the marketing
folks
department came up. Yeah, they got their hands on that. Yeah. I know.
I love how we think alike. But yeah.
You know what we can do? We can put this in the Guinness World Record. That's a great idea, Johnson. Run with it.
Oh, poor Johnson.
Yep.
It started April 8th in Australia at 9 a.m. I wonder if this was an Australian thing, John. But yeah, it's a lot of AI learning and a lot of content coming your way. So again, it did start just earlier this week, but again, don't let that put you off of joining it now and checking it out. Just do a quick Google search on Microsoft AI Skill Fest. It comes up immediately, and you can just jump right into it. A little bit more AI, John. So speaking of AI, and if you want to learn about AI, you can build a token visualizer in .NET. So I'm finding .NET to be quite handy for doing machine learning and generative AI and all of that. And I was working on a project where I wanted to show folks how their text gets broken down into tokens, because the large language models don't use the verbatim strings that you type in to do things. They break it down into smaller chunks. Those chunks get turned into numbers. Those numbers get vectorized, and all sorts of things happen. So you'll learn about that hopefully in the Microsoft month of learning. But if you want to just focus in on how these tokens get created and what that actually would look like from a human perspective, you can actually do that fairly easily in .NET with ML.NET. So ML.NET is a machine learning library for .NET. And actually, the visualization part is like 99%, and I'm not joking, of all of this article. If you're only interested in like, I want to tokenize something, it's a literal one-liner of code. Like that's how easy it's gotten in .NET. The displaying of it is the more involved part. But basically, you end up with a 2-column interface like this. You can type in or paste in your string, and it's going to tell you how many characters that was, how many tokens it was converted to, and then you get this nice visualization that shows you how each of those tokens is broken up. And then this can actually help you if you're debugging some prompts that you're writing. Maybe you're running out of tokens. Maybe you're trying to refactor your prompts to make them a little bit cleaner. So you use less tokens, because tokens turn into real world money at the end of the day. That's usually how these services charge you for things.
Sure.
So you might be able to get away with some shorter prompts and things if you go back and trim some of the unnecessary repetitive stuff out of them. You don't necessarily have to ask please to get a response from an AI. So you can go in and trim.
It's always nice too.
It's always nice too, but you add up all those pleases per tens of thousands of users, per tokens, probably 2 tokens for the word please, maybe. Sure. And those pennies start adding up. Or you can deposit those into a separate account like Superman.
Okay.
It's another outdated reference that some people won't get.
Yeah, these visualizers are nice. They give you a lens into it. Like if you've ever wondered how GPT thinks, a visualizer like this is kind of like your backstage pass to the mental gymnastics. So you can see basically how everything is judged at one token at a time. So there's lots of things you can do with this.
Yeah, there's even a toggle in here that'll flip on like what is the numeric representation of each of these. Notice they're integers, not floating points. This is just a tokenization algorithm. It does not do embeddings. So embeddings are different. There's a little description in the article about what the difference between those two things are. But the very, very short version is there is no context included with tokenization. Like tokenization will give you a number for that word, but that word is not associated with any other words or sentences or anything. So there's no intelligence behind it. If you want that intelligence, you got to add an embedder, and the embedder will create vectorizations out of those integers. All right. More AI, John.
Oh, God.
We have just we should be in the marketing part. This should be a world record thing. Most articles in a podcast show about AI
That's
hosted
right.
by a Kentuckian and Australian.
That's right.
We got oddly specific, but we did it. I have to say, like you shared this link, John, and when I read it, I read HAL because of the AI implications here, and it's not. It's HAI, not HAL,
Yes.
but like
Yeah.
anyhow.
Yeah,
This is the
it's
2025 index report. What is it?
Yeah, this is from the Human-Centered Artificial Intelligence, or HAL. Hi, excuse me.
Got you.
And I know. It was like, what was the the Secretary of Education was calling AI A1, as like A1 sauce. She was doing a speech the other day, and she was calling AI A1, but whatever. So HI, or HAI, is the Human-Centered.
Secretary was this?
Secretary of Education, I believe. Anyways,
For
whatever. It's
where?
on TechCrunch.
For the US?
For the US. Yeah, for the US.
That tracks.
I'm sure it was just one of those things. Anyways, the 2025 AI Index report is by this group within Stanford, and basically it's like a comprehensive analysis of the current state of trends around AI. I love these things. You and I have talked about the state of reports all the time: state of JS, state of CSS, state of the Octaverse, etc. So the report goes into the entire global AI landscape, talks about the competition between the various vendors that are out there: OpenAI, Google, mentions Meta, Anthropic, XAI. So it talks a little bit about, even goes on to mention a little bit about DeepSeek from China with its R1 model, which basically raised a lot of eyebrows. Talks a lot about China's advancements in the AI space, specifically around DeepSeek. Talks about the what are some of the other things that's mentioned? Investments. So there's been a huge amount of capex spend in AI. The growth that's been in this has been insane. Like, if you just look at the financial reports from all these public companies, the Googles, the Microsofts, the Metas, etc., they're just spending a boatload of money in AI. And that also includes the hardware that goes along with it. This is part of the reason why NVIDIA is doing so well. So, the hardware is getting better, etc. The emerging trends.
This is important right here. Like, the AI becomes more efficient, more affordable, more accessible. I think I mentioned this a few weeks ago on the show, or maybe it was in a meeting, but was it you that responded with like, it is? And I was like, yeah, it actually is. Somebody was like shocked, like they weren't quite sure it was becoming cheaper, and I was like, it's really coming down in price. I think DeepSeek was one of the things that helped get that.
So I think they produced their model for I somewhere around the range of $3 to $10 million comes to mind, something like that, which is insane.
And you've got small language models too as well that like run on device, to hardly take up any resources. They're not as capable, but they can get some interesting things done.
Yeah. So if you're looking for a summary or a high level perspective on all things related to AI, you can check out the 2025 AI Index from the folks over at Stanford, specifically the Institute of Human-Centered AI.
Oh, this is an interesting one. I haven't seen this before. This is AI and computer science education expanding, and it has like between no education to computer science mandatory, and it looks like Australia is like up there. Did you know that, John? Like, that's
the universities that well, it's, we'll cover languages like Prolog, and we'll talk about it from a high level perspective, but I don't believe that universities are teaching the latest and greatest of that aspect. Like, they're not touching on some of the things we cover in this show. For example, the curriculum tends to be set in the more fundamentals. So talking about the basics, the core concepts involved in this, the vectorization, the tokenization, all those things. Like, I did comp sci in university, and we talk about all these things in conjunction with algorithms and efficiency and a lot of math, etc. So all those things come into play. but I don't think they cover the latest and greatest for sure.
Yeah, that was something that I found lacking here, not just computer science in general, but like in the States, like everything was around like this ancient foundational stuff. Build a compiler from,
Yeah.
use COBOL, all that. Nobody was teaching anything practical or new, and it was.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. You do get that sense when you're in it, but those core concepts do permeate throughout your career, believe me. So I still touch on those things from time to time.
And then this is from I thought it
us.
was Octopus Deploy, isn't it? Okay, it is Octopus Deploy. The Code Fresh threw me off. I guess I wasn't familiar with that brand. Is that the blog brand?
No, this is one of the companies. This is a company that we acquired last year called Code Fresh.
Oh, okay.
They're part of the Octopus Deploy family, and this is one of the earlier on when I was saying how busy I was. This is one of the reasons why I was busy. So we did a webinar around this. Basically, it's a new product. It's called GitOps Cloud, and basically, it's a platform designed to enhance application deployment and promotion across multiple environments using your existing Argo CD instances. And so there's a bunch of features in here that we highlight in the webinar, but this blog post from Costas talks a lot about them. So we talk about multi-environment app promotions, GitHub integration through checks, concurrency management, a bunch of other things as well. So if you're looking to streamline your GitOps processes, eliminating the need for things like custom scripts and all that sort of stuff, manual interventions, check us out. CodeFresh GitOps Cloud.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, John. That's all the news we have for this week, but we will see you again soon. And real quick, I'm going to circle back to the token visualizer because I haven't done a full stack Friday in a little while. I had a co-host that's going through some career stuff, and I probably am going to reboot the show pretty soon, whether it's solo or otherwise. But this is something I may cover on the show because I did the basics here, right? We can visualize the tokens, get them on screen. But this is something I could expand on and build more things, like add some charts and stuff to it, maybe. So you might see me do that on the show. We might build some chat bots here pretty soon, but the Full Stack Friday show will come back within a pretty soon time frame.
If you want to guest eating popcorn and making stupid comments in the corner, feel free to send me an invite. I'd be happy to add my 2 cents.
Awesome, will do. That's all we've got for this week. If you want to find this article, by the way, it's at blogs.telerik.com or telerik.com/blogs, however you'd like to get there.
Make it your homepage. Blogs.telerik.com.
Yeah, make it your homepage. There you go. Good stuff on there. Lots of guest writers and stuff.
Yes.
But take care, and we will see you next week on another Eat, Sleep, Code. Have a good weekend.